Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you're having a really nice spooky evening. Pull up a chair, make a cup of tea, and just spend a few minutes with me as I talk to you about my one and only paranormal experience. And before I get into it, I need to tell you about memories and the way that the brain works with memories. Because when you recall an event from your past, your brain isn't simply remembering details that happened at that particular point. It's remembering the last time you remembered the memory. So inevitably, every time you replay a certain memory in your mind, you're getting a kind of Chinese whisper of the previous memory. So your brain is trying to fill in the details and make up for missing things. So with that in mind, I wanted to just quickly clarify the details that I'm going to talk about, because this story is set in 1978, a long time ago. And I had the opportunity a few years ago, before my mum passed away, to talk to her about this particular event and to get her recollections of it, because she was there. And interestingly, the story that she told me matched almost exactly with what I remember. So between us, we kind of fine-tuned the details. So I'm pretty confident that the story I'm going to tell you is exactly as it went down all those years ago. So let's start. So 1978, I was 8 years old, and we'd moved to a house that was near a school that I was going to be going to when I was 11. So because we were a working class family, my parents were forward thinking, and they decided that if they moved nearer to the school that I'd be going to, it would save money on things like bus fares, and also I could go home for my lunch instead of them having to pay for school lunches and things like that. So we just moved into this house. We'd been there a couple of months, and my mum was always very house proud. She'd always keep the house nice and tidy. And she had a lot of knickknacks and things that she would put around the place. And she liked to adorn walls with various things. And one of the things that she had, which plays an important part in this story, is a little kind of set of a shield with two daggers. And the daggers, I would guess, were about 6 to 7 inches long. And I'm going to do a drawing of what that kind of looked like on the wall, and the positioning of those daggers, because this is important. And the daggers were fastened to the wall. Each dagger had 2 nails. The finials of each dagger were very ornate and had such a design that one of the nails could be hammered through a hole in the finial to fasten the top part of the dagger to the wall. And then the second nail was at the bottom end of the dagger and just simply gave the dagger a place to rest. So both daggers were at an angle at either side of the shield. So why am I telling you that? Because this is an important part. It's the shield and the daggers that are the sort of MacGuffin of this story. So I was 8 years old. We were sat in the living room one evening. There was me, my dad, my mum, and my younger sister. I had an elder brother and an elder sister, but neither of those two were in the room on that particular night. And of all things, we were watching The $6 Million Man, because that was still a big thing in the 70s. Lee Majors was playing Steve Austin, and as an 8-year-old, I loved that show. And we used to play a lot of $6 Million Man in the school playground, and running around in slow motion and pretending to bend iron bars while doing the sound effect. So we're watching $6 Million Man, everything's hunky-dory, we're enjoying ourselves. And suddenly, there's a power cut, and everything goes black. The TV goes, the lights go. We're all sat in the darkness. I seem to remember that me and my sister were nervously excited, but we felt safe because our parents were there. And we kind of sat for a few moments thinking, is the electricity going to come back on? Or do we need to hunt around and find candles? This was a common occurrence in the 70s power cuts. And it was while we were sat in the dark that we began to hear a kind of faint scraping sound. And I remember my mum saying, "What's that? Where's it coming from?" And just as we were talking about this, the lights came back on and the TV came back on. And sure enough, Lee Majors was there on the telly carrying on with his bionic activities. But this scraping sound was still happening. And suddenly my sister let out a little yelp and she pointed up at the wall. And the two daggers and the shield that we had on the wall, the leftmost dagger was slowly starting to lift off the nail and move upwards in an anti-clockwise direction against the pull of gravity. And it slowly was moving upwards. And me and my mum remember very clearly that we just sat watching it. And this dagger moved anti-clockwise on the nail that was holding it in its finial, and it reached the 12 o'clock position. And at the point that it passed that topmost part, we thought it was just going to fall down the left-hand side, but it didn't. It continued a very slow descent down the left-hand side until it got back to the nail that it was resting on, and at which point it couldn't pass the nail. So it held there for a few moments, and then whatever power was causing this dagger to move was released, and the dagger just dropped to the sort of 6 o'clock position, wobbled a few times and rested. And I remember as a family, we all sat there thinking, did we actually just see that happen? And my dad got up and just took the knife off the wall, put it back in its original position, and then kind of turned the volume up on the TV. And nobody spoke about it. I remember me and my sister were trying to explain it as very young kids, thinking maybe it was an earthquake, maybe it was vibrations. But my parents clearly didn't want to discuss it. And that was kind of the end of it. But here's the kicker. This is the bit that makes it a good Halloween story. Before we moved to that house, we lived in a cul-de-sac, and we were there for a whole year. And my mum had made friends with an old lady that lived across from our house. And she befriended her, and my mum would go over there 2 or 3 times a week and help her out and buy her a little bit of shopping if she needed it and do chores for her. And when my mum told her that we were moving because we wanted to move nearer to the school, the old lady was very upset because she'd made good friends with my mum. And as a parting gift, she gave her this shield and 2 daggers that she had on her wall. And my mum, being the sort of lady that she was, refused to accept it. But the old lady was insistent, saying, no, you've been a really good friend. I want you to have these. So she succumbed and took those items. And she put them on the wall when we moved to the other house. And this is the point that my mum didn't tell me until a good number of years later. She waited until I got older before she told me this. But the day after the event happened with the daggers moving of their own accord, that afternoon, my mum had a phone call, and it was from a resident on the cul-de-sac, another person that she was friendly with. And they'd rang to tell my mum that the old lady had died the previous evening. And she knew she was good friends with my mum, so she wanted to let her know, because she knew that she would probably want to attend the funeral. And my mum surmised that maybe the old lady died at the exact moment we saw the dagger moving on the wall. And that has always stuck with me. And I am not a religious person. I don't know if there's an afterlife. I don't know what happens to us when we die. But when I think back at that, and I have a recollection of that dagger, slowly moving anti-clockwise against gravity on that wall and seeing it with my own eyes, it always gives me pause for thought. So maybe there is something, but that's my ghost story.
We're witches of Halloween. Ooh, the ugliest you've ever seen. Ooh, we fly around at night and give you such a fright. We're witches of Halloween. Ooh.
So let's try and bring a bit of levity into Halloween night, and let's talk about some movies. What films am I going to be watching on Halloween night? Because normally on Halloween I do a big thing of it, and I'll watch a kind of horror movie a night for the 2 weeks running up to Halloween, and then on Halloween night I'll pick a particularly great movie to watch on Halloween night. And last year I seem to remember that I worked my way through the Friday the 13th movies and the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And then I watched the latest Halloween trilogy directed by David Gordon Green, which is very divisive. Quite a lot of people don't like those three movies, but I thought they were really, really good, and I really enjoyed them. And Halloween Ends was the movie that I watched on Halloween night, and I really liked it. Again, it was very divisive because they kind of put Michael Myers in the background and made a different character, the antagonist. And it was very brave what he tried to do with that movie. And I think it worked, but not a lot of people agree with me, but that's my views on it. I really liked it. But this year, obviously I haven't been able to watch a movie a night in the run up to Halloween because we moved house at the beginning of October, as you'll know. And I've been busy doing the movie room. So I've decided on Halloween night to watch 3 movies back to back, which I've picked from my collection. So on the evening that you're watching this, if you're watching this on the Friday night, you can be sure that I'm going to be sat in front of one of these films. And I just want to quickly talk about them and why I chose these 3. And the first one is the German filmmaker Werner Herzog's version of Dracula, which is called Nosferatu the Vampire. Now, this is a brand new release. I think this only came out about a week ago. So this is going to feature in a pickups video that I'll be doing next week. I don't normally do pickups videos, but I did buy a bunch of films in kind of celebration of finishing this new movie room. But I've always loved Nosferatu the Vampire. I've seen it many times over the years. And I think the reason I like it, I tend to like Dracula movies anyway, but Nosferatu the Vampire has a particular place in my heart because it's filmed in the Netherlands and it uses real world locations and buildings really, really well. I don't believe they used any sound stages for this. They used real locations for everything. So you'll see a lot of kind of abandoned buildings and old castles and very, very nice kind of canalway streets with lovely, lovely architecture. And it all adds to the atmosphere of the film. And of course, we have the very OTT Klaus Kinski, who's an actor that I don't know terribly well. I know he did a lot of films with Werner Herzog, but this is the only Werner Herzog movie that I own, so I don't really know much more of his work. Other than Fitzcarraldo, which is a movie that I'd like to own on physical media, but it's very hard to get a hold of. But yes, Nosferatu the Vampire, Klaus Kinski plays Dracula really, really well, and the design of him, his makeup, is deliberately reminiscent of Max Schreck in the original Nosferatu, which was made in the 20s. And the protagonist of the movie is Bruno Ganz, who some of you may know from the German film Downfall. Bruno Ganz plays Hitler in that film. And that's a film that is used very heavily on YouTube videos where people will take clips of it and alter the subtitles to make it look like they're saying different things to very funny effect sometimes. And then we have a very young, I think she was 20 when she made this, Isabel Adjani as the love interest, who's absolutely gorgeous in this. And yes, it's just a great adaptation of Count Dracula. It doesn't have many real scares in it, and it's not gory. Rats feature heavily in this film, so if you're a bit squeamish with rats, I wouldn't advise that you watch this movie because there's a lot of them. But it has a lot going for it. It has a really good sense of atmosphere and dread. And yes, I love it. And I must say this Blu-ray is absolutely superb. I've seen this movie so many times over the years on many different formats. And when I put this Blu-ray on to test it when it arrived in the post, I was blown away at the quality of it. It just freshens the movie up so well that I'm so looking forward to watching this all the way through on Halloween night. So that's my first choice. My next choice is 1991's The Addams Family. Yes. So you probably think this is a bit of a strange choice for a Halloween movie, but to me, it's a perfect choice for a Halloween movie. I always think of The Addams Family, this particular film, as the best movie that Tim Burton never directed, because it looks like a Tim Burton movie, but this was directed by a chap called Barry Sonnenfeld. And Barry Sonnenfeld used to be the cinematographer for the Coen brothers back in their very early days. He worked on the movies Blood Simple and Raising Arizona. And this was his kind of directorial debut, I believe it was. And he did a cracking job. It has a lot of energy to it. He kind of gives me vibes of a very young Sam Raimi in terms of his kinetic use of cameras and angles. And there's some very wild and crazy shots in The Addams Family. And the cast in it is just absolutely glorious. We have Raul Julia as Gomez Addams, and this is possibly the performance of his career. And I have read that this was the role that he was most recognized for in the street. He'd get a lot of children running up to him, shouting, "It's Gomez Addams!" And he loved that attention, and he used to really play up to it and act out Gomez Addams in front of the fans. And he was taken far too soon. Raul Julia died only a few years after making this movie. And it's a very sad loss because I think he was a terrific actor, and he's got really good, fun presence in this film. I can't imagine anyone else playing Gomez Addams. And then, of course, we have the wonderful Christopher Lloyd playing Uncle Fester. And he's wearing kind of a fat suit to give him an odd body shape. And Christopher Lloyd, bless him, has got a very kind of rubbery comedy face anyway, but when we see him with a shaved bald head and dark rings around his eyes, he just makes the perfect Uncle Fester. And there's a scene in this movie that's always a high point for me, where they perform what's called I believe it's the Mamushka dance, where Gomez and Uncle Fester are at a party and they do this dance, and it's just absolutely hilarious. And of course, we have a very young Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams, again, plays it really well. Angelica Houston as Morticia certainly looks the part. I know that she really suffered for this role because she had to wear a metal corset to give her the waistline that was needed. But it's a really, really good, fun film. And I think after the mood of Nosferatu the Vampire, The Addams Family is like a nice bit of light relief before we get onto movie 3. And there was a sequel to this called Addams Family Values, which I also have on Blu-ray, which is okay, but it's not as good as the first movie. If you're only going to get one of them, definitely get the first film. I highly recommend it. So my last choice, and this is the film I'm going to be watching on Halloween night as we approach the witching hour, and I'm really looking forward to it. And of course, it's the original Tobe Hooper's 1974 The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I know I have a lot of horror fans that subscribe to my channel. So you already know about this movie and its brilliance. You don't need me to sit here and tell you how fantastic it is. But for those of you that haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. I know the title can be very off-putting, but it's not as gory as you think it's going to be. There's only one person that dies directly as a result of a chainsaw in this film, and that kind of happens obscured, so we don't see anything overtly graphic. Again, this is more a movie about atmosphere and mood. And when I think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I always think of the grittiness of it. I think of it as a gritty movie, because the first time I saw this film back in the very early 80s would have been on probably an old copy of Betamax tape. So it wasn't the best picture quality anyway. But that memory has always stuck with me. And even now, watching it on Blu-ray, which is probably the best quality of it we're ever going to get, it still has a cheap grittiness to it that just adds to it so much. It wouldn't work as a lavishly shot CinemaScope movie. The whole point of this film is it has a kind of gonzo aspect to it, and it was very low budget. I think they only had $170,000 to make this movie back in 1974, and Tobe Hooper really did a cracking job. And very simple storyline. There are 5 kind of students that are in a camper van, and they're driving through rural Texas, and they come across an abandoned house which just happens to have a family of cannibals living in it. But there's a terrific scene near the beginning of the film where they're still driving in the van, and they pick up a hitchhiker, which unbeknownst to them is one of the residents of the house that they'll be finding later in the film. And the sense of just sheer uneasiness that you get when they pick up this hitchhiker, and the way this hitchhiker interacts with them in the back of this van, just really puts you on edge for the rest of the film. It's absolutely terrific. And of course, it's no surprise that it was this movie that influenced Ridley Scott when he made my favorite movie of all time, Alien. That's the kind of impact it had on other filmmakers. So in a way, we've got this movie to thank for giving us Alien, which is a lovely thought. But it's just such a great film. It's not a very long movie. I think it's only just over an hour and 20 minutes. So it zips along. It has some terrific scenes in it. Gunnar Hansen, the actor Gunnar Hansen that plays Leatherface. I was always surprised when I saw pictures of Gunnar Hansen just as a normal person, and he looks like a lovely, friendly guy. And yet in this, he is the actual chainsaw-wielding maniac that appears on all of the posters. And he wears a real skin face. And one bit of trivia is throughout the film, he wears 3 different faces, apparently, depending on his mood. So he has his kind of killer face, and then he has an old lady face that he wears. And then he wears like a young woman's face with makeup. So it's worth spotting the different faces when you watch this movie. But I just love it so much. And I think it's a fitting full stop to Halloween night for 2025.
After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
So those are my 3 choices. I hope you agree with them. I have quite a few horror films in my collection, not as many as some of my subscribers, but certainly next year I'll plan and do a 2-week horror watchathon, and I'll do a video going through the entire list of films that I'm going to be going through. So do look out for that in a year's time. So that is the end of my Halloween special. I hope you enjoyed that and my little ghost story that I told earlier. If you did, give me a nice fat thumbs up, and feel free to share my video to anyone that you feel might enjoy it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's my aim to try and grow this channel over the next year and try and increase my audience, because I have some interesting videos coming up which are slightly left field, but I hope you'll stick with me for the journey, because I'm already enjoying myself so much. I hope that comes across on camera. So I'll see you very soon. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget to lock your doors, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.